Welcome to another segment of Provocative Conversations, destined to provoke further thought and spark greater questions regarding God, church, and the religious establishments of both the past and the present. I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself. Your perception of God means everything. How much you know of God determines how much you perceive God to be. How much you know regarding God determines how much you will be able to intellectually perceive God to be. You will never perceive God to be any more than what you possess knowledge regarding God. For your perception level of God will never exceed your knowledge level of God. How you perceive him will never exceed what you know regarding him. Now, I want to say this. You will definitely perceive God in some light of some sort. You may not perceive him in the proper manner, but you will formulate some type of synopsis, some type of theory or multiple theories regarding God and who he is. I mean, that's what religion has done. It's formulated all these different theories, all of these different hypotheses, all of these different belief systems and customs as it relates to how they perceive God to be, or how God has been passed down to them to be. So whether or not you believe the way that you ought to believe, or you believe God in some accurate form or not, is not a question. Or whether or not you believe him the way that he truly is not the question. Or that's going to be dependent upon how far you go into God. And now there are other things involved in this, but I'll say how hungry and thirsty you are to understand what is right and what is truly God, what is truly the character and nature of God. That's all going to depend upon how you search and seek him out, and definitely how God has apparently determined for you to seek him out. Because remember, how you seek God out is going to be dependent upon the situations and circumstances that you find yourself in. Is going to be dependent upon how God utilizes, or how God has already structured your life, how God has predetermined your days to be, the events and situations in your life. Because God has to line up the events. You know, the Bible says that no man can come to the Father except I draw him. God has to draw up a plan. God has to draw up a route. And within that route that he draws up for your life, or each of our lives, he has to include within it those variables, those events, those happenings, those periods, those pivotal points, those crucial moments in time that will form us and form our thinking and create a hunger and a thirst and a panting after his heart. So God is the one who has to actually ultimately structure the situations surrounding, encompassing your life that will bring you to your knees. Maybe not literally, but possibly literally. that will bring you to a point of saying there's got to be more. I know there's more. How do I get to that more? You don't know how to seek God right. I don't know where to look for God at. Some people say, well, just look for him in the Bible. You know, that sounds good and it sounds religious because it has a good tone to it and it has a good religious overtone to it. But in actuality, you don't get to choose God in that manner. God is not leaving it up to you to determine when you'll seek him and when you'll find him. Now, there is a verse in the Bible that says, seek the Lord while he may be found. It says, if you seek me with all your heart, mind, soul, you'll seek me, you'll find me when you seek me with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. There's a verse in the Bible that says, seek the Lord forevermore, something to that effect. But honestly, you don't know how to seek him. I don't know how to seek him. All we can do is meet up with our moments, meet up with those points in our life that God is pressing us, that God is wooing us, that God is closing us in, setting up parameters where we can't get around them. We can't go any further until we submit to whatever it is pulling us, tugging at us. I know when God is getting ready to speak with me for the most part. And it's at that time, at those moments, that I go to my computer. There was a time years and maybe over 20 years ago that there was over 20 years ago that I would go to pen and paper. Pen and paper just took too long. I mean, not that I was trying to crunch time. It was just that pen and paper I couldn't move my hands fast enough with pen and paper. And when it would come time for me to read what I wrote, either I couldn't fully see what I wrote or understand what I wrote, or I would leave words out. So I couldn't understand the sentence because I would leave words out. I try to write as quick as the words are coming. As time went on and as computers became a part of my life somewhere around 96, probably early 95, probably 96, I began to become proficient enough in computers that I felt comfortable enough to begin to type everything, not just everything that God stated, but type up all of my biblical notes and all of my verses and stuff. Not literally type whole verses out because I had Bible software to do that, but type up certain things as it relates to the Bible, notes and stuff and writings and stuff that God was giving me throughout the years. I know when he's talking to me, I feel it. It's pulling on me. It's tugging. And when that happens, I go to my computer. I just move over to my computer and I'll get up at night. I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll go to my computer to this very day. And I'll go to my computer. I'll go wash up a little bit and go to my computer and I just sit there and wait. And sometime he can talk to me for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I know for some people that sounds funny. God talks to you. All I can do is tell you what he does or what the God concept does, what the spirit does. That's all I can say to you. And then somebody might say, well, what spirit? Well, I tell you what. First, you get to a point where you can hear from God. Then let's see how easy it will be for you to deny hearing God when you know you've heard him. You can't deny when you've heard from God. You can't deny it. You struggle with it. You may even try to suppress it, but you can't because something in you connects with that and you can't stop. You can't move away from it. No matter how hard you try, you just cannot move away from it. So what I'm saying to you is it's important that you get to a point where you can hear from God so God can begin to give you the deeper things of him. Let me tell you something. You are not going to come to a strong working knowledge of God just through reading the Bible. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a great place. Well, I say that is a great place to start. It is. But you didn't have the influence that I had. You weren't where I am or where I was with this God factor in my life. I was raised with the biblical influence or the influence of religion. I was raised up being influenced by churches, by preachers, by women in the church saying stuff to me and having to go to Bible study, Bible school, Sunday school on Sundays when it was truly putting out true lessons and all. And I appreciate those people. And when I see those people today, I tell those people, thank you, because those people truly helped me get to where I am today in my foundation. Even though now when I look back at it, I can see where they apparently were doing the best they could with what they knew and what they had. And I appreciate them. I truly and honestly do. Do I practice what they taught me today? I'm sure in many ways I do, or the principles of it. But a lot of the things that I grew up on, a lot of that I've divorced myself from, not in a bad sense, but in a good sense. I appreciate the fact that God utilized those people, and he utilized that route of religion to get me to where I am today. And I appreciate those people. I honestly and truly do. And when I see them, I do let them know, look, you helped me. I would go to, what do you call those things? Vacation Bible school in the summertime. And I looked intently toward going to that stuff, mainly because, there was food there and snacks and stuff. And I remember even some of the songs we sung and everything during Vacation Bible School. I remember that. And all of that stuff shaped and formed my basic foundation as it relates to God. And the Bible was always something that was put forth before me. Now, I didn't understand the Bible, and I don't believe most of the people who were utilizing the Bible at that point in time truly understood it, because had they have understood it, that's all I'll say. However, I appreciate that which they did understand, and they were doing their best, and those people had families, and those people were teaching all of these other people's kids, including me, and I wasn't an easy task. And they were willing to teach me. So I am very appreciative of them, and I don't knock them in the least bit. They worked with what they had. They gave me what they had, and I'm appreciative of that. And here I am all of these years later, when so many of the people that I grew up with and went to church with are no longer living. So I am very appreciative of those people, and it catapulted me into, or it made it easier when God got to the point of catapulting me to a greater depth in him, a greater understanding, a deeper dimension of him. It was those things that introduced me to the Bible. I understood the 66 books of the Bible. I still know them by heart today because of those people. I understand basic small things about the Bible because of those people. So God used that stuff for me. But does that mean that he'll use that stuff for everyone? No, it does not mean that. And that's where people get it wrong at, especially church people. We get it wrong at that because we feel that God has got to save everybody the same way. He has to use the same method he used for, if he used it for me, he'll use it for you. No, that is not true, and that's definitely not scriptural. No, he won't. When God gave Matthew a revelation of himself, Matthew spoke it from one angle. When he gave it to Mark, Mark spoke it from another angle. And then when he gave it to Luke, Luke spoke it from another angle. And then when he gave it to John, he put a deep spiritual spin on it. So, I mean, God will speak. He will give you and I the same experiences, or you and me, the same experiences. And then he'll reveal something totally different from that experience to you that he doesn't reveal to me, or to me that he doesn't reveal to you. So we really can't put a handle on how God will do a thing in a person's life. What if he does use Buddha to get someone to where he wants them to be? What if he does use Hare Krishna? What if he does use Farrakhan? What if he does use Farrakhan? People are splitting hairs over Farrakhan. Is Farrakhan rough? Well, because I'm human and I have ideas and preconceived notions, and I've been tainted, and, I have a biasness about certain things. Yes, because of that stuff, he says touchy things, but that's not for me to discredit him over. Farrakhan is speaking his truth. He's speaking truth from his perspective, or from the perspective that he has it. I'm not going to try to put this brother in check. Yeah, he calls the white man devil. The white man calls the black man devil, and everything else. We listen to people and we want to demonize Farrakhan. It's not that we don't agree with Farrakhan. People don't agree with Farrakhan's message. I believe one thing, people are jealous of Farrakhan. Okay, they're intimidated by him. Number two, people have this twisted idea and this twisted ideology when it comes to any other religion outside of their own, and for anyone who's worshiping another. And then Farrakhan has the nerve, the audacity to be a bold witness of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of Islam, the Islamic faith. Well, and then, people hear him say stuff about Jesus. Listen, our Christian or so-called Christ-like behavior sucks. We are terrible in our behavior. No wonder people talk about Jesus, because if we are the light of Jesus, if we are the true representers of Jesus, we are doing a terrible job at it. And you should not get offended when somebody else tells the truth about what we make Jesus look like. The Bible says you are the light of the world. A city that's lit, you're not to veil the light that is in you. And we're doing that. So if we're veiling the light that we are to be presenting, and someone like Farrakhan is coming against that, what is he doing wrong? What is he doing wrong? Is he wrong, or are we wrong? This is what this makes me veer over into something in Isaiah chapter 42, verse 6 in the New King James Version. And I wasn't meaning to cover this here. That's why I say I really don't have a set agenda as to how I do a thing. But in Isaiah 42 and 6, it says, I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the Gentiles. Now, we always want to call people Gentiles. We always want to, even though we are Gentiles ourselves, we all want to call people everything but children of God. We want to call them the unsaved, the lost, unbelievers, sinners. We always want to categorize them. But okay, if you categorize them, listen to what God said. I set you forth as a light to the Gentiles. We are the light of the world. So if we are the light of the world, or the light for the world, the light that shines and helps the world see the right way, the so-called right way that we so-called represent. And then we look like a dark flashlight where the battery is getting ready to die. And then someone like Farrakhan makes a statement regarding it, or he challenges our witness. Why are you mad? Why are you upset? In Isaiah chapter 49:6 in the New King James Version, it says, indeed, he says, it is too small a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribe of Jacob and to restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles. Now we know that this is apparently speaking in regards to Jesus, but we are his witnesses. Okay. You are a light to the Gentiles. We're supposed to be a light to the ones that we're claiming are lost. Now, although the majority of so-called Christians and believers acknowledge that Jesus was and is the light of the world, only a small number of that majority have come into the realization that they, should I dare to say we, are the light of the world. Christians say that, and believers say, that they are believers and they are Christians and they are Jesus followers and they are Jesus people and that they are, and that Jesus was and is the light of the world. They'll say that. They'll even make son. Jesus is the light of the world, light of the world. He shined to me. Well, only a small number of the ones who sing that, say that, believe that, preach that, harp on that, only a small minority of those who claim that Jesus is the light of the world actually come into the realization that they too, we too, are the light that the world is supposed to see. John chapter 8 verse 12 says it like this. Then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. Not only is he the light of the world, but we are the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness. Since so many people, Christians claim to be in darkness, since so many people are in darkness according to Christians, maybe they're in darkness because the Christians aren't letting their light so shine, the light they know very little of. John chapter 1 verse 4 says it like this. In him was life, and the life was the light of man. Well, guess what we have? We have the life of God. God has breathed his pneuma, his breath, his spirit within us. God has placed his spirit within us. The life was the light. The life is the light. The light is in us, and it's the light of men. Light represents knowledge. It represents truth. It represents direction. It speaks of maturity. Matthew 5 verse 14, you are the light of the world. Now he's telling us we are the light of the world. The life was the light. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Isaiah said, you are a light to the Gentiles regarding Jesus. Okay, and then again in Isaiah it says, as a light to the Gentiles. Now in Matthew 5 and 14 it says, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. But it's being hidden through ignorance. No wonder that verse says, for my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Isn't that something? Each of us are a child of light. We're all children of light. Not just you and not just me and not just the Christian community and not just the 5%ers. The Islamic, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, the Protestants, the Romans. That's a trip to me. the church world, especially the Christians, and I guess that is the church world, but the church world has such a big issue with the Roman church and how they do, and the Pope and all of that. Even as I was growing up, so many people had a problem with that. And what I didn't realize was that everything in regards to your Christian Bible was wrought forth by the influence of the Romans. It was the Roman bishops, the Catholic bishops, the bishops of that day, for the most part, who had play in the writing of or interpreting for the layperson the first Bible. They gave all of their influence, all of their twists and turns and idiosyncrasies and whatever other mess they had going on in their own personal lives and whatever in the crookedness of what was going on in the world, the then world back then, all of that bled over into scripture or bled over into writing or in the interpretation of the Bible. And we have such a problem with the Roman people and the Roman church, but yet you go to almost any black church, any church that has the bishops, the archbishops, the apostles, the elders, the deacons and deaconesses and the ministers and all the attire and the garb and the neck collars, and higher up you go, the thicker your neck collar get, and the purple and the scarlet, I think red or whatever, the blue, the royal blue, and all of this here, and all the robe and the hat and all the other garb and the rings and the scepter and the lamb stick and the other covering, whatever on the head, and all of this other stuff. And we are straight ridiculous with that there. And we know how to dress the part and everything. And we got it all from the Roman church. We got it from Catholicism. But yet we have a problem with them. But we contradict ourselves in claiming that we have a problem with them, but we support that movement by what we do, by what we wear, by what we indulge in. And we call that God. It's sad. It's unfortunate. Each of us is considered to be a child of God, or considered in which our lights are the illuminators amidst this world. But you're not illuminating anything if you're still in the darkness of ignorance as it relates to your perception of God. If you don't have a proper perception of God. Now, we call this world perverse and blind and lost, yet we don't use our light. We don't try to increase our light, the knowledge of God, our perception of God, so that we might shine light, so that a lost world can find God. I don't believe the world is lost. The only world I believe is lost is the church world. I don't believe the world is lost. The world's got it going on. Man, people understand more than we think they do. We've been in those church walls for so long. We've lived off of greed and in-house incest, adultery and fornication and all that in the church house for so long. We've forgotten about people. We don't even realize the truth about people. We don't even see people as people anymore. We see them as instruments. We see them as tools. We see them as stepping stones. We see them as being incapable, incompetent. And the sad part about it is the only ones who are incapable is the church world. The only ones who are incompetent is the church world. And that's sad. That's sad that the church has gotten so lost up its own booty that we can't see beyond the darkness of our own booty. That's bad. And I mean to say it just like I say it. And remember, though I don't agree with him and believe in him, I'll say it because perhaps you do. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. The truth is the truth whether you like it or not. The Bible says you can do nothing against the truth and you can't do anything for the truth. Not in a sense, basically you can't do, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but you can't do anything against the truth. The truth is what it is. They tried to kill Jesus to shut up the truth, but you can't do anything against the truth. So, John chapter 12, verse 36 says it like this. While you have light, while you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light. Well, Jesus is definitely gone to be where he is, and we are to be sons of light. Not just us, but all of us. Sons of light. Sons of light. Sons of light. But how can you be a proper light to anyone when you're as ignorant as they come? You can't do that. You can't be who you are called to be because you don't possess a proper perception, a proper revelation of God. You can't even see who God is but who God has already reached, who God has already saved and identified as his own. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 5 says like this. You are all sons of light. All sons of light and sons of the day. All. We are sons of light and sons of the day. We're not walking around in the darkness of ignorance. We're not walking around in the wrong concept of God, the wrong precepts of God, the wrong perception of God. We're sons of light, sons of the day. We are not of the night, ignorance, blindness, nor of darkness, stumbling over things and stumbling over people, stumbling over a person's race, stumbling over a person's class, stumbling over a person's political affiliation. I can understand stumbling over their political affiliation, not stumbling over it, but having to address it and all, because right is right. Yet at the same time, even that has to be done in love. The political affiliation doesn't demonize a person because perhaps the person is just truly ignorant at that state and stage. And give it time, I believe God will even bring them out of that. And that's to me as well, because there are some people that I look at and I just say, whoa, turn the television. I don't want to see them. Ephesians 5 verse 8 says, Ephesians 5 and 8 says, for you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. So walk as children of light. But how can we be that? How can we be that without the knowledge of that? Without the knowledge of who we represent? Without the proper perception of who God is and what he is about? For the most part, whatever revealed knowledge the world obtains of God will be derived from the lights of this world, meaning us. The church claims to be the light of the world, but if the church claims to be the light of the world, why is the church so busy in darkness instead of light? Why is the church so lost in things that coincide with being in darkness and being of the night? there is more homosexuality that goes on in the church world than that goes on perhaps in any one particular place outside of maybe a gay bar or a gay affiliated club or something of that effect. Now, understand this here. I'm not bashing those people. I'm with you. I defend you. I defend you. I don't even fully understand it, but you know what? I don't have to understand it. It ain't for me to understand. What is for me to understand is God and how God deals with you. And I can't step beyond the boundaries that even Jesus himself never set up, that Jesus himself never spoke on and spoke about and spoke regarding. I'm not going to sit here and be one to say, well, I just love him. I just love him. And it's more than that. It's more than just loving you. I believe that I am here to defend you. I defend you. I defend that right. I defend that which I don't understand, because the right of the matter, I do understand. The humanity of the matter, I do understand. The heart of God, I do understand. The nature of God, I do understand. And when I look at Jesus, I understand that I am supposed to be a follower of Christ. If indeed the Christ likeness is a literal person, or the Christ concept, I agree with that. I go with that. It's healthy. It works. It keeps me on a good path. It helps me to understand humanity. It helps me to embrace humanity. And when I look at what was recorded about this Jesus, I don't see him saying anything to you. I don't see him addressing homosexuals and lesbians. I don't see that. I do see adulterers get brought up to him. I do hear throughout about fornication and stuff like that. And here's the bad thing about it. Again, adultery, it's rampant in the church. Fornication is rampant in the church world amongst religious minded people. Homosexuality is rampant in the church. Lesbianism is rampant in the church. It's rampant. The only thing that's not rampant in the church is the knowledge of God. The only thing that's not rampant in the church is the love that Christ showed. The only thing that's not rampant in the church is the embracing of all people. You got greed in the church. You got thievery in the church. You got lying in the church. You got all of that. You got cursing in the church. No, they may not use the curse words. The curse words don't make it bad because you say it's a curse word. You got curses in the church whenever they condemn you to hell, and when they preach all of these hell messages, those are cursings and threats and bullying. All of that stuff is rampant in the church. That's a problem. That's a sheer problem. So for those of you and people who are caught up in that and you find yourself in that, listen, hear me. What I do say to you is that's a rough route to be in, but I'm not saying you chose to be in that. I'm saying that's a rough route to have to fight through. But I encourage you to fight through and stand for your conviction. I encourage that. And if I hear, and when I deal with people, I deal with it from an aspect of love your neighbor as yourself. And I don't believe that God is sending you to hell for that. I don't understand it. I don't know what's behind it, but it ain't for me to understand. I don't have to understand you to defend your right. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to practice it to acknowledge or to defend the right of the matter. White people don't have to be black in order to defend blacks and to defend civil rights and the movement, the good part of the movement of Black Lives Matter. You don't have to be in that. You may have to be in that to truly understand the struggle, but you don't have to be in that or to be that. Jesus was not a woman, but he understands the struggles of women. Okay, so You don't have to be all of that to understand it. What I am saying is, whatever revealed knowledge that the world obtains of God, it'll be derived from the lights of the world. And since Christians or religious people claim to be the light of the world, then we need to keep that. They need to keep that and put that first and foremost before they start naming all of these different sins and misgivings and shortcomings and all. 2 Corinthians 5:20 says we are ambassadors for Christ. Well, that's his love. Yeah, God is pleading through us. It says we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were pleading to the world through us. That's not about you going around and going to other countries and everything trying to save everybody. That ain't what it's about. In other words, our love has a quiet plea. Love has a quiet wooing in it. And as you shed forth the light of God, the love of God, the nature of God, the knowledge of God, in the way that you live, in the way that you present yourself, it has a pleading message to people. And it says, we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. In other words, our ministry is the ministry of reconciliation, to let people know that God has already reconciled. He's already removed whatever hindrance they may have or that people may put before you to get to him. God has already fixed all of that. That's why we are ambassadors of love, ambassadors for love. But how can you be an ambassador if you don't even understand what the one you are representing looks like, how he behaves, what he's about, what his person is, his personality, his character, his nature? Your perception of God means everything, every single thing. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. See our love. See how we embrace this world, just like Christ embraced this world. Good message. Good twist. That's why we got to do this again. And we will.